So we're learning about knife skills. Knife skills are one of the most important things in the kitchen. Everything from a beginner to an expert. So we've just really focused. We spend about a whole week doing this because it is kind of that entry-level ticket into the restaurant industry. So if you don't have good knife skills, it's going to be hard for you to go upwards in this industry. So it's a life skill that all students need to have, whether they go on in this industry or not. So that's why we spend and put so much emphasis on these knife skills. So this is literally a straight cut down, okay? One thing about knife skills that we really want to practice is what? What are some items that we are looking for? Uniformity, right? So when you look at all of these together, they should all be relatively the same. Right there is our rondelle cut. It is a straight parallel cut right down with the carrot. Oblique is that roll cut. So we want to start out on a 45-degree angle. So here we are at 90 degrees. We're going to turn our knife sideways, cut it at 45 degrees. Now we're going to roll it. Roll it simply means to roll forward or backwards. So we're going to roll it here, cut another 45-degree angle. Now we're going to roll it, 45-degree angle. Roll it back, 45-degree angle. So Julienne, what are the dimensions of Julienne? 1/8 by 1/8 by 2 inches. So I'm just gonna assume this is about 2 inches right there. I'm gonna make my cut. Since the carrot rolls, we wanna square it up. So we're gonna go one side. So we don't have to ever worry about peeling it. All right, so now we have a nice square carrot. So from here now, I'm just going to make my 1/8 inch panel. All right, so I know the video and I like it. They call these panels. So I have 2 panels, all right? Now I'm gonna make my logs from these panels. So I stack them on top of each other, and now I'm gonna make my logs. So when we look, we have nice Julienne cuts right there. So brunoise is a 1/8 by 1/8 by 1/8 cube. So I'm gonna do that real quick, just so we can get it out of the way. Once again, I cut my panels. Now I'm gonna cut my logs. And then I'm gonna cut my cubes. Notice the rocking motion, very fluid. And here's a really nice brunoise cut. So now we're gonna go to Baton. Baton is 1/4 by 1/4 by 2 inches. So a little bigger. So this should roughly be double the size of a Julienne. So now from Baton, what do we get? Yep, we get a small dice. So once again, we're gonna cut our panels. And now we can cut our small dice.
This is your first rodeo, huh?
No, not quite. I wish I could say it was, but. All right, so now we have our small dice. Medium dice is what? Half. So here's our medium dice right there. All right, so I think I have all done for carrots. So review, rondelles, medium dice, oblique, Baton to small dice, Julienne to brunoise. I'm gonna clean up real quick. Then we will get into another item.
Go for a mouthful, go for the fun.
Oh, go for cake!
Cakes are for everyone. Just one stack is what it takes. And it's Gover cakes. Open wide, stuff your face. There's always room for more Gover cakes. Empty the box, then reload. Eat those Gover cakes till you explode.
Exercised lately?
Till you explode.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
This cut is just literally a rough chop. You just want to chop it up into really, really fine. So the finer, the better, essentially. It's gonna blend in much more. So we have large leaves right here. We want to break these large leaves into smaller parts. So the best way to do it is just kind of do a rough chop to start breaking down the leaves. So we're gonna rough chop it. And notice this hand, I'm just kind of feeding the area of my knife that my knife's gonna go through. Okay, it doesn't really ever come in contact. I just keep kind of scrunching it up. Now when you get to this point, there's two different grips that you can utilize. You can utilize the pinch, and you can kind of go through it like this. Or you can go more or less with the flat hand on top, down towards the tip, and do the rocking motion. I prefer this. I feel like I can get a little bit more pressure on it and a little bit more force through it. So notice I'm constantly going through. I scrape my knife and I'm always re-pulling it in so I don't have any of like these large leaves stuck out there. So once again, we're just gonna keep going through. All right, so now you can see this parsley and how fine that is. Okay, that's what you guys are shooting for, a nice, real fine parsley. So, first things first, we always want to cut kind of the root end off. So we're just going to make a simple cut to cut that off, and then we're going to smash each one. If you just take your knife, the blade of your knife, smash it, all right? Until it's flat, okay? Now once again, we're gonna do a rough chop, all right? But we're actually gonna mince this, end up mincing it. So once again, we wanna break the larger part down into smaller pieces. Notice, once again, I'm scraping and I'm kind of feeding. Scrape, feed. Now we can go into more of this part where we've broken it down. Now we just want to get it even finer. All right, why do you not want large chunks of garlic in your food? Too garlicky is kind of obnoxious, stinky breath, all of that. So once we get to this point, some of you would call this good. This isn't good enough, all right? We want to make it a paste. So we're going to take it. All right, and remember, our knife blade is always away from us. We're gonna take it and we're gonna go in and push down. So it's gonna kind of look, so we're literally making kind of like a paste and cutting it all at the same time. So then when we actually do this, we're gonna get really nice garlic flavor, but no one's really gonna know that there's garlic clove in that. So we do that a couple times through. We've cleaned it. I'm just gonna go through it a couple more times. So do you see kind of how it's starting to get that pasty? So I'm gonna call that good. All right, so this would be considered our garlic. And last, we will do a nice little onion. So we have our half an onion here. To do a dice properly, you're gonna pull the onion to the tip of or to the edge of your cutting board. Your knife should be parallel to your cutting board. You're only gonna go up about 1/4 of an inch to make your first cut in. And you're gonna go 3/4 of the way through. Come back out 3/4 of the way through. Okay? Now you're gonna do a 1/4 turn. So those cuts that you made are now facing you. And you're only gonna go 3/4 of the way through. Now you're gonna turn it again. And you're just gonna cut straight down. And you're just gonna see a really nice dice coming. So you don't have to go back through and re-chop it or anything like that. So now when we look at it, there's no large pieces. We just have a perfectly diced onion.
This new dad is picturing a tree house in the sky, but he's ignoring the instructions. Good luck, big guy. His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope mom knows what to do. Mom! See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Connor is struggling in school.
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
It's important to sharpen your knife because with the dull blade, it makes it very difficult to cut through everyday items such as carrots, potatoes, onions. And having a sharp knife is also beneficial to you in the instance or the case that you cut yourself. So what I like to do when I sharpen my knives is I go from a higher grit sharpening stone to a lower, so it cuts the edge into the blade, and then with the lower it refines the blade and makes it so it's not so bad. So when I start, I go in a forward motion all across the blade. I do this about 20 times on each side. In doing this, it's cutting pieces of metal out of the blade and refining the edge on it. Having a sharp knife is also beneficial if you're trying to do intricate details with the knife, such as a paring knife, which is just a little bit smaller than a utility knife, but essentially can do the same thing. The oil is a lubricant for the stone, so it doesn't break down as you swipe the metal across it. And then I'm just getting the excess off the blade right there. And so now that I've switched it to the lower grit side, to refine the blade, instead of pushing forward, I'm gonna pull back. So doing this just really helps get the excess burrs off of the blade that you got from putting the edge on it. And this technique is the one that I found to do, it does the most good for the blade. It just really helps get a nice crisp edge on it. So this right here is a honing steel. What you do with that is after you're done sharpening your knife, you run the blade across it. And what this does is it levels the blade back out. So if the edge was a little uneven, this will take that and it will equalize the blade. So you normally sharpen a knife like this at 22 degrees on both sides, and then you do the same thing on this steel. There are different types of steels that you can use. Like this is a diamond steel, and then they have just normal stainless steel with it's almost riveted, so it can pull and really get the knife in a good working shape.